If you were an Indiana Fever fan, if you're a Caitlin Clark fan, it was a brutal game to sit through. No Caitlin Clark, no Sophie Cunningham, no Chloe Bibby.
Indiana Fever fans just endured one of the ugliest games of the season. No Caitlin Clark on the floor, and it was painfully obvious. The Atlanta Dream didn't just beat the Fever, they tore open every flaw. Aaliyah Boston faltered, Natasha Howard disappeared, and the crowd immediately begged for Clark's return. Can you blame them? Without Caitlin Clark, do you really see this Fever squad as a playoff threat? Drop your thoughts below. Let's lay it out. The Indiana Fever walked into this playoff clash already crippled, and not in the way sports fans usually throw that word around. No Caitlin Clark. That headline alone says everything. When the franchise star is stuck on the sideline, you're basically spotting your opponent 10 points before tip-off. That's the cold reality.
My understanding that Natasha Howard was signed to be the fourth big star on this team. And if Caitlin Clark is not playing, well, it seems to me like Natasha Howard should move up and it becomes a big three, right? The only problem is only one of your now intact big three decided to show up, and it was Kelsey.
Now, the Fever's supposed big three without Clark was Kelsey Mitchell, Aaliyah Boston, and Natasha Howard. The problem? Out of that so-called trio, only one showed up like it was truly a playoff game. Spoiler alert, it wasn't Boston. It wasn't Howard. It was Kelsey Mitchell dragging the team on her shoulders while the others played like they thought the season had already ended last week.
As well. Mitchell floats it in.
Mitchell went out there and actually delivered. She poured in 27 points across 33 minutes. She shot 9 of 18 from the field. And truthfully, she looked like the only Fever player with both a heartbeat and a plan. The rest? Let's just say the box score didn't do them any favors. Aaliyah Boston, the golden child, the #1 pick from just last year, the one who was meant to be the cornerstone of this franchise alongside Clark. But in this game, she completely vanished. 3 of 9 from the field, 8 points total. And don't let those 8 points fool you. She was sitting at 4 points deep into the fourth quarter. Garbage time tossed her a couple extra buckets, and suddenly the box score looked less brutal. But anyone actually watching knew the truth. She was a ghost when the Fever needed her the most. And then came Natasha Howard. You want to talk about disappearing acts? She went 2 of 7. That's 28% for anyone counting. Just 5 points. This is the same Natasha Howard who owns 2 All-Star nods, 3 WNBA rings, and made the All-WNBA squad back in 2019. The same Natasha Howard who averaged more than 17 points per game just last season. And yet, in a playoff game without Clark, she decides 7 shots is enough. I'm fine. Excuse me, 7 shots. That's your effort? That's like walking into a potluck with a bag of chips and pretending you catered the whole spread. And here's the reality. When Clark isn't out there, this is supposed to be Boston and Howard's moment. Their chance to demand the ball, take command of the offense, and prove they are not just passengers on Caitlin's train. Instead, they stood on the platform and watched it roll away. Now, let's talk about those empty seats, because one look around Gainbridge Fieldhouse told you the story. Forget what the box office claims. Empty chairs don't lie. Whole rows of white seats sat untouched. And sure, some filled up later when fans trickled down from the nosebleeds, but the message was loud. Without Caitlin Clark, people aren't exactly sprinting through the doors. And it's not just about money. It's about energy. The air was flat. The crowd never had the spark. And you can't tell me the players don't feel that. Kelsey Mitchell is out there giving everything she has. And half the building looks like they'd rather be home with Netflix. Fever fans show up for Clark. Period. Without her, it's another world entirely. Now, about the game itself. The Fever fell 80-68. And honestly, it wasn't even that tight. The Dream controlled it from the opening tip. This wasn't some thriller going down to the last shot. By halftime, you could already sense the crash coming. The Fever looked heavy, disconnected, and completely lost on offense. And that's what stings the most. This roster is filled with veterans. Natasha Howard has championship scars. Aaliyah Boston has a full year of battle now. She's no wide-eyed rookie anymore. There's no excuse for vanishing like this. Here's the deal. When your star is gone, somebody else has to rise. That's day one of sports. But instead of rising, Boston and Howard shrank under the lights. They played small. They looked like background characters instead of leading roles. And that's not the script you want in the playoffs.
Was a winnable game for the Indiana Fever in round one. Game one versus the Atlanta Dream. We had the opportunity to steal one. We came out with the right energy, the right focus. The second quarter, they made adjustments. They upped their intensity, slowed down the game, upped their physicality, and we just didn't make any adjustments. Yes, the referees were clowns. Yes, Aaliyah Boston was a no-show. Yes, Natasha Howard looked like a fossil out there on the floor who should not be in the league because she's washed. Yes, all of that is true. Our head coach, Stephanie White, is a bonehead. All of that is true. And with that being said, we had an opportunity to win. And now we have Stephanie White at the podium with no idea.
Meanwhile, Stephanie White, the head coach, didn't exactly shine in this one either. I get it. She's juggling injuries. But some of those rotations and choices were flat-out head-scratches. How do Boston and Howard combine for only 16 shots? That's wild. These two should be firing off 12 to 15 attempts each, bare minimum, especially with Clark sidelined. Instead, you've got Odyssey Sims launching 7, Aerial Powers tossing up 4, and Shaw Petty with 2. No offense, but those aren't the players you want steering the offense when the season's on the line. And then came White's little clash with the refs. Yeah, she picked up a technical foul. Some people tried to frame it like some powerful show of leadership. Sorry, but a tech doesn't flip the scoreboard. A tech doesn't suddenly remind Boston and Howard how to dominate. It was too late, too small, just noise more than anything. And speaking of the refs, let's just call it like it was. They were terrible. Not only against the Fever, but both squads felt the sting. Missed calls, phantom fouls, inconsistency everywhere you looked. The WNBA has some of the weakest officiating in pro sports, and this night was the perfect example. But here's the truth. Bad whistles don't excuse bad basketball. The Fever didn't collapse because of refs. They collapsed because two of their so-called stars didn't bother to show. Now let's circle back to the fans. Because Fever fans aren't naive. They see it clearly. They know this team rises and falls with Caitlin Clark. And after watching Boston and Howard disappear, they are not wrong to beg for Clark's return. Without her, the Fever are flat, lifeless, and honestly unwatchable. Fans aren't shelling out cash to watch an 8-point Boston and a 5-point Howard. They want Caitlin Clark, and they are loud about it. And honestly, that sparks a bigger question. How much patience do Fever fans really have for Boston and Howard? Boston is still young, sure, but she's supposed to be a foundation piece. Nights like this don't exactly build belief. And Howard, she's the vet. She should know better. She should demand the rock. She should seize the moment when Clark is gone. Instead, she shrank like a role player hiding in the dark. That's unacceptable. And don't even get me started on the lack of outside shooting. 8 of 29 combined from Boston, Howard, and Lexi Hull. One single three-pointer between the three of them in 2025 in professional basketball. Are you kidding me? That's not just rough, that's flat-out embarrassing. So, yeah, Fever fans were boiling. They were fed up and they had every reason to be. Watching your team get pushed around by the Dream while your supposed stars fade into the background is painful. And Clark's absence made it painfully clear. Without her, this is just another forgettable WNBA team. With her, the story shifts. It really lands because Clark isn't just a player. She's the heartbeat of this franchise. She's the reason seats are filled. She's the reason the Fever even register in the bigger sports world. Without her, they're invisible. And fans aren't sitting quietly while Boston and Howard play pretend as stars. They are going to scream for Clark's return, loud and relentless. Now pause a second and look at how ugly this has gotten without her. Aaliyah Boston was billed as the interior anchor, a number 1 pick. The type who owns the paint, gets easy finishes, controls the boards. Instead, she's tossing up 3-4-9 like it's some science experiment. You're the franchise big, and you're only taking 9 shots on a night your star guard is gone. That's malpractice. That's not misfortune. That's bad basketball IQ. And Natasha Howard, oh, don't even get me started. This is a woman with championship rings. She's been an all-star. She's shown she can score with the best. But against the Dream, she basically punched the clock and asked if she could leave early. 2 for 7, 5 points. That's it? That's what you deliver when your star guard is out. That's the moment you're supposed to rise, not fade. Meanwhile, Kelsey Mitchell is out here grinding, pouring in 27 on her own, probably wondering if she wandered into a YMCA scrimmage because nobody else is keeping pace. She can't hold this team by herself. She's not Clark. She's not wired to drag an entire franchise night after night. She's a scorer, yes, but she's not the savior. That's Caitlin's role, and everyone knows it. Let's be real, Fever fans were cheated. They didn't buy tickets to watch Aaliyah Boston Miss Bunnies or Natasha Howard act like she forgot how to play the game. They didn't buy tickets to watch Stephanie White clapping on the sideline like it's some junior high scrimmage. No, they bought tickets because Caitlin Clark is the spectacle. Caitlin Clark is the headline. Caitlin Clark is the only reason half the country even knows the Indiana Fever exist. And don't kid yourself, the league knows it too. When Caitlin suits up, arenas are packed, ESPN can't stop looping highlights, jerseys fly off shelves, kids everywhere rocking that number 22. Without her, well, let's just say those empty white seats look ready for a clearance sale. Now here's the part that stings. We keep hearing excuses from the team like, we've got to manage Caitlin's minutes, protect her body, think long term. Sure, that sounds noble. It sounds like you're caring for your star. But let's be honest. If Caitlin Clark is healthy enough to play and you're still benching her, you're not protecting her. You're protecting your own bad coaching choices. Because here's the truth. Without her, you're naked. All the cracks in this roster get bigger. The shallow depth, the shaky so-called bigs, the messy play calling, it all spills out. Think about it like this. When Caitlin's on the floor, she stretches defenses. She forces double teams. She opens driving lanes for Boston, Howard, and Mitchell. She makes everybody else's life easier. But when she's gone, suddenly Boston has to manufacture her own looks. Howard has to own the weight. Mitchell gets swarmed. And the offense crumbles. That's basketball 101. And somehow this coaching staff still misses the memo. And let's not forget the fans driving hours just to watch Caitlin take the floor. We're talking families spending savings on tickets, hotels, and gas. They walk in expecting the face of women's basketball, and instead they are handed 8 from Boston and 5 from Howard. You think those fans are rushing back? You think they are locking in season tickets next year? Good luck selling that. Here's the bigger danger. The Fever are toying with fire. Caitlin Clark isn't just their top player. She's their identity. And identities break easy. Keep handing fans empty seats, empty numbers, and empty excuses, and they'll turn the page. They'll scroll her highlights on YouTube. They'll wait for her with Team USA, or maybe wearing another jersey down the line. But they are not going to keep throwing money at a team blind to the obvious. Your future is sitting on the bench while you're getting smacked by double digits. Now let's circle back to that matchup with the Dream. The scoreboard reads 80-68. On paper, not a blowout. But if you actually watched, you knew it was never close. The Fever looked drained. The Dream weren't even spectacular, but they didn't have to be. All they had to do was stay steady, and Indiana practically handed them the game. And that's the real gut punch. This wasn't about talent. It was about heart. And without Caitlin Clark, the Fever just don't have it. So now the fans are saying what used to be whispered. Bring Caitlin back, or we're gone. They are not asking anymore. They are demanding. And can you blame them? They've watched this franchise scrape for relevance year after year. Finally, Caitlin Clark arrives, the brightest star in decades. Suddenly, the Fever matter again. But the second she's missing, poof, the old Fever return. And trust me, nobody's paying to watch that rerun. The front office better snap out of it, because if they keep this up, they'll lose more than games. They'll lose their base. And once that's gone, no amount of Kelsey Mitchell's 27-point nights is ever bringing it back.